Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and today it's not Sunday, it is Monday, but we are bringing you our first warning weather questions with meteorologist Rich Segal. Weather Answers with Rich. How are you doing, Rich?
I'm fine. Sorry we weren't with you Sunday. We had an issue with our laptop, and so that prevented us from going live because you just didn't want to see me. We wanted to show you graphical information, which is prettier than me.
Yes, of course. Well, we're back here today, and we have a list of questions that viewers have shared with you, Rich. And I'm going to pop the first one up. That one is, what's the average arrival date for our first true norther?
Okay, this is from Cat Mask Replica. It's funny because they don't put their names, they just put their handles, which is fine with me if that's what you want to do. Well, first of all, let's talk about what a blue norther is, or the true norther. A blue norther is a fast-moving cold front. It is a cold front, an honest-to-goodness cold front that drops temperatures as much as 20 to 30 degrees and perhaps even higher than that in just a very short period of time, in less than a half an hour, sometimes within 15 minutes or so. These are characterized by a strong north or northwest wind. The sky is completely blue, but there have been times when the sky gets a little bit darker. But nevertheless, what it does is it gives us a refreshing air mass that comes into the area. So the question was, when can we expect it? Now, we are about to wrap up what we call meteorological summer, the first day of meteorological autumn or meteorological fall. I love the word autumn better
I love
than
it
fall.
too. It sounds so much better.
It's going to be September 1st, and then later on in September, astronomical fall will start. So I think that the first blue norther, usually fall gets delayed here as it normally does because summer seems to lag on a whole lot longer than we would like for them to linger. But I think it's going to happen after Thanksgiving into the first week of December. This is a prediction, okay? We may revise this at some point down the road, but it is a prediction that we will get the first true norther for Central Texas sometime after Thanksgiving into the first week of December.
I don't know about you, Rich, but once we hit August, I'm in autumn mode.
Are you really?
Yeah. My
Even
house is Halloween decked out already.
No.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That may be an early sign of fall for us after all.
Yeah, and our summer wasn't as hot as it normally is, so hopefully it gets here faster.
Well, we haven't had any 105-degree high temperatures, but we have had a couple of days where we are, at least one day that I remember, at 102. That was in late July. And we've had about closing in on 10 days of triple-digit heat here this month. And so August is living up to its moniker of being the hottest month of the year in Central Texas.
Unfortunately, it is the hottest, and we're feeling it already. Well, our second question is, can you emphasize that our local aquifers are still in drought?
All right, this comes from BSEACD, so I'm going to surmise that this stands for Barton Springs Edwards Aquifers. C, I can't identify the C, but D is likely district. Well, let's see, I backed up. That is not where I wanted to go. So let's do this. Let's do this. And let's do this. The aquifers did not get as much rain as the Highland Lakes did when we had all of the flooding back in July. And so what was being reported was, the lake levels are great, the lakes are healthy, but we did not do a good job. I don't think any of the media outlets did a good job of talking about the aquifers. We're talking about the Barton Springs Aquifer and the Edwards Aquifer, which is where San Marcos gets most of its water from.
Yeah.
Now, what I was able to find, and I looked up this information on Saturday, and I really wish that I had been able to talk to someone about this, but that was not possible over the weekend. The Barton Springs Aquifer, according to what I was able to find out, is in stage 3. It's critical drought status, and those that draw their water from the aquifer know what that status is. At the last report, the flow is very low at only 28 cubic feet per second. The Edwards Aquifer, again, that's for not San Marcos, is in stage 4 drought status. And so those were the updates that I had, and I'm hoping that they're right. And if anyone out there does have better information on the aquifers, then I would appreciate it if they let me know about that. But this was the latest information that I was able to derive from the aquifers.
Rich, if anyone is curious or wants to check on that on their own, is there like a specific website they can go
There
to?
is, and I wrote it down, and I left the website sitting on my desk. So if we'll address this again. I'll get some more information for Sunday, and we'll repeat this question on Sunday's show, if that's okay.
Perfect, that works. Now, our third question is, how are we even to get accurate weather with the gutting of NOAA and NWS?
Okay, so NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NWS stands for the National Weather Service. You know, I had hoped to have done a blog on this several months ago when the budget cuts happened. It definitely left us with that same question, even here in the weather office. Like, okay, what may we lose because of the staffing cutbacks? And in our Austin, San Antonio National Weather Service office, we lost a few key people, including warning coordinator Paul Ura. It potentially, and I have to stress this, potential, possible, not definite. There was a potential that we would see slower warnings, not just for hurricanes, but for severe thunderstorms, for floods, or anything like that, which had a potential or possibility to compromise the public safety. There were fewer balloon launches. Those balloon launches that they do twice, they were doing them twice a day. Some offices had to cut them back to one a day. And the balloon launches, when they are launched, they go up and they collect data in the upper atmosphere, temperature, humidity, pressure, wind, things of that nature, which are very valuable for us here on the surface. And so there was a potential for impact on the hurricane forecast. But recently, it was determined that about, I think it was 345 people are being added back to NOAA and the National Weather Service. I don't know how those staffing increases are going to shake out in terms of who will get staffed first. Will the Hurricane Center get staffed more than an individual National Weather Service office? But the specific, I think that we have not missed anything. Not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard too many people, or I haven't read too many articles where they have said, oh, well, the staffing cuts have done this, and they've done this, and they've done this. And there were people who were a little up in arms that the staffing cuts may have contributed to the tragic loss of life during the July 4th weekend floods. But the warning system that the Weather Service utilized that day and that during that forecast period did pan out. It was lack of action on other agencies beyond the National Weather Service where we ran into most problems. And so I think that everything has still been performing as it should be right now in terms of forecast accuracy, when storm warnings go out, when hurricane warnings go out, or tropical storm warnings like we're seeing right now with Storm Erin.
So there's a lot of things you have to consider when it comes to the cuts that they have seen.
Yeah, let me correct the number. I did have a second graphic on this. So the National Weather Service has approved the hire of not 345, but 450. So that's nicer number to deal with. And so this will be in the form of hydrologists, meteorologists, radar techs, people that are vital to the continued day-to-day work of the Weather Service. And so the very last line is, I don't think that public confidence should wane on this. I think we're going to be just fine. And who knows, they may add more staffers as they really realize the necessity to keep those offices. You know, I think some offices may have had to discontinue nighttime operation outside of when there is a potential for severe weather. That did not happen and is not likely to happen in our Austin, San Antonio Weather Service office in New Braunfels.
And do you know when these individuals will be hired?
They're ongoing. It's an ongoing hiring process, and I'm hoping that they will hire back some of the people that were let go when the staffing cuts were made several months ago.
Yes, we all hope so.
Yes.
For question number 4, why did Hurricane Erin get so strong so fast?
Wow.
It did.
It really did. You know, on Friday, it was a Category 1. By Saturday morning at 4 a.m., it was a Category 3 with winds at 120. It took less than 7 hours and maybe even less than 6.5 for it to become a Category 5, which is the highest category a hurricane can get to. we do what we call weather engaged videos that go out to the app and on Facebook and Twitter. And I had just completed doing another update when Erin went from a 3 to a 4. That 4 was by 10 o'clock. And no sooner do I get done sending that video than I looked at the graphic screen and I saw the number change from 4 to 5, which meant, of course, doing another update because we want to make sure that everybody, especially with friends along the East Coast, know what was going on. So by a little after 10:15, I have 10:20. That was the time that I remember looking at the clock. It was a Category 5. The winds had reached 160 miles per hour. What happened was it encountered a section of the sea where the water temperature, which is normally around this time of the year in the mid-80s, but it was in the upper 80s. And that 1 to 2 degree difference
sped everything up.
It did. It caused everything to increase. It had low wind shear. Now, wind shear is a change in the speed and the direction of winds going up in height. Well, this encountered low wind shears, which mean there was not much of a change at all. And what also we saw, and we have been watching this from the time it did become a hurricane, was it has a very tight core. And that makes it very efficient for rapid intensification. That core very tight. It's caused the storms to remain strong. They are healthier storms. This was not a messy storm. And it also causes them to be a little more efficient. So there was a change between Friday and Saturday of 85 miles per hour in maximum wind speed in just a 24-hour period.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. And we saw that in 2024 with Burl, which eventually made Category 5 strength, but by the time it made landfall, it was along the coast. So here is the graphic, the timeline. If you can read that, it has it goes from a 2 to a 3 to a 4. There is that 5. I wish these Hurricane
5,
Center
4,
graphics,
3, 4.
I wish these hurricane graphics were a little easier for us to read, but this is the best that I could do right now. So on Sunday morning, it was a Category 3 hurricane. The winds had decreased from the 160 at about 10:15, 10:20 on Saturday morning to 125 on Sunday morning. And then we anticipated a little further strengthening back to a Category 4, and that's where it was as of the 7 a.m. Central Time reading. There is another update coming at 10 o'clock, which will tell us if it's still a 4 or if it has reduced back to a 3, but it is not anticipated to become a 5.
Do you expect it to just continue to reduce in speed? Or do you think it's going to grow?
No, I don't think it'll. If it gets any stronger, like I said, I don't think it'll become a 5 again. I'm looking at this now. I can still make out a very strong I core. Eventually, I wonder if I have this. Hopefully this next graphic tells me what I want. Let's see.
Where is it going to? What's the next path?
Well, right now it's affecting the Turks and Caicos. It's affecting Bermuda, southeast Bermuda. The Turks and Caicos are under a thunderstorm warning. So I didn't have the graphic with the track, but I'll have the track coming up at 11 o'clock on our midday news show. I don't think it becomes a 4. It will affect from the Keys to Miami, all the way up the Atlantic seaboard to Eastport, Maine. The entire seaboard at some time this week will be affected by high surf, high waves and swells, and dangerous riptides. And that's what the Atlantic seaboard is. As a matter of fact, Kristen was talking this morning on KXAN News Today and on our CW show that they've already issued evacuation notices for a Cape Hatteras Island in North Carolina. So a dangerous storm, but fortunately, its impact to the United States will not be any landfall. So we can be thankful for that. This will stay over water. By about Wednesday, it should be a Category 3, if not lower. By Friday, Saturday, it should be over the colder waters of the western or the northwestern Atlantic, in which case it will then just be reduced to a 2 and likely a 1.
Tommy and I were tracking this hurricane yesterday, and one thing that we were talking about is although it's not going to make landfall here in our states, in our area, the water does get affected, and a lot of surfers want to go out and enjoy the waves.
Yes, those daredevil people, they have a good time doing it. They know what they're dealing with, and you can tell them not to do it. It's not going to stop them. You can't order someone not to do something if they want to do it. So I'm sure that there will be a few hardy souls who will get on their surfboards and say "Cowabunga."
Cowabunga. Well, if your family is one of those surfers, please warn them that it could be a little dangerous.
Yes, I'm sure that they will.
So we have your blog post that you posted. I do want to share it. Tell us a little bit about what's in this blog post.
Interestingly enough, I wrote this blog before Saturday's intensification of the storm. Our media partners at Climate Central and did a survey of how warm the ocean temperatures have gotten over the past many years. There was one graphic that showed that already through the first 6+ months in 2025, bordering it right there on that graphic that you're showing up, that white line indicating 2025 and the light blue line above it showing 2024. 2024 was a record year for ocean water temperature. The story that we did talks about what has created this, what has happened since 1850. There's another graphic on this story, and there it is, the stripes. The stripes tell a fantastic story of the warming, the anomalies that have gone on since 1850, and you see in the darker and whatever shade of blue you want to go with, that's the cooler. The water temperatures were cooler than what was expected. But then you get into, especially this century and the last 2+ decades, and we're looking at red and darker red and even darker red. They even had to add a color.
Tan.
They had to take a red and they had to take red and make it a little darker to depict what's been happening since 2020. There was a record year of 2023. That record was eclipsed in 2024 by 1/10 of a degree. That may not seem like much, but it is significant, especially when you see a rise year over year. And so that is the blog that I wrote. It's right now on our website at KXAN.com under the Weather and Traffic tab, and then the Weather blog tab after that.
And Rich, if anyone is interested in sending you some questions, how can they do that?
And I have the graphic up for that, okay? Report it, REPORTIT at KXAN.com. And as I always caution people, if you're asking me when will it rain on your birthday or your wedding day or whatever, you got to let me know what the day is, and not just be so
We
generic
don't read
on that.
minds here.
No, we don't. But that's it. Report it at KXAN.com.
And all questions welcome?
All questions.
All
Listen,
questions.
if I'm going to answer a question like I did last week, is why do you get the forecast wrong all the time? That may be the worst question you could get, but I'm going to answer anything. I'm not going to just pick and choose, unless of course the question is just so ridiculous that it's like, yeah, you're just having fun with me. But I will answer all the questions that we get, and we always appreciate when people write into us.
Yes, and Weather Answers with Rich is a KXAN Plus show that comes out here on social medias. If you're watching us on socials live, on our website, on our mobile app, as well as our streaming app, KXAN Plus. Anywhere you get your streams, Rich, I'm going to test you. Where can they download this app?
Oh gosh, Roku. Am I right so far?
One right.
Fire something.
Fire TV.
Fire TV, and there's a third one, and you'll have to forgive me, but I don't know what
So
that
it's
is.
Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Samsung TV.
Oh, that's a new one for me. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll have that answer for you next week.
Okay, I will test you again. Thank you so much for joining us, Rich.
All right, Esme, thank you.
We'll see you next Sunday.
All right.